Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Welcome to No Tube, and it's time to do another Continental reviews, episode 2, Loyalty to the Master. I'm here with Gaz. How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Great stuff. So this three-part series has continued, and I think we've probably got to the meat of the episode. Whilst episode 1 was definitely an episode that tried to hook us in with the John Wick isms, so to speak. I think episode 2 then basically what said, okay, here we have to pad it out with some story, explanations and all of that. And less action packed, that's for sure. More character driven, definitely. How did you feel, boss man?
Well, personally, I really liked this episode because it got us to understand all these characters, and we got to spend a lot of time with them. Like, for example, we got to spend a lot of time with KD. To find out how much she cares for the person she's having an affair with, like how good of a police officer she is. She works on these tips and stuff like that, and people are trying to protect her, and she just won't listen. And then we have the people who will the dojo. Sorry, I never pick up their names. Sorry, I know they have names. I just don't pick up on them.
But let me try and find them for you.
Sorry, the brother and sister who own the dojo. They were amazing in this episode. I did like the action scenes where they're in that cinema sort of thing and stuff like that, and then she's fighting the guy in the cat on the cut. She's fighting the guy who's near the truck or the car, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I don't know. Would you call that more a car? Would you call it more a truck? I'll call it a truck because it's probably a bit closer to a truck. I like that.
Like a pickup truck.
Yeah, it's like a pickup truck. Yeah. And then Mel Gibson was so good in this. I mean, I know we've talked last episode about the things we've got to cover. Yeah, I don't give a fuck. Right? He's so good in this episode. Like when he goes mental, he goes full mental. He goes back to playing being Riggs again. It's like said, where was this Mel Gibson? It's like this was a phenomenal performance by him.
Like I said, ever since it got ousted, Mel Gibson is one of the few people to kind of survive what he did. But his racist tirade basically meant, okay, Mel, you're no longer playing good guys anymore. You're full on bad guy, and so that's what they done. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, that was great. And as I said, Winston was pretty decent in this. For me, he was the least captivating character. I was like, can we not go back to your flame KD again? Can we not go back to Mel Gibson again? Can we not go back to the people with the people running the dojo again? It's like they're the more, for me personally, the more. I know he's the main character, but they're the more interesting characters because I actually want to spend time with them.
Yep. Yeah. I agree to a degree. We didn't get much of Mel Gibson in this episode, but whatever we did get out of him, it was great. He's actually a really good bad guy. Looking back at episode 1 and 2, he's a bad guy with his back against the wall. You know what I mean? You could like he's losing his mind to a degree, and his superiors are coming after him, which is making him very vulnerable. And he's lashing out at the people who are supposed to help him at the same time. And it was that cello, is it cellist? Is that what you call them?
Yeah,
people who play the cello.
Yeah, cellist.
The moment he mentioned how he wanted Sharon to have an alternative, outside of the Continental to broaden his horizons. You can see just in that little twitch within Mel Gibson to show you his acting, how good his acting is. That upset him, and he felt betrayed. And he's at that level now, of crazy. But yeah, if you want somebody to play crazy, Mel Gibson is your fucking man. That guy's been playing crazy characters his entire fucking career. Characters with a screw loose at least. And this guy of Cormac has definitely got his screw loose. But yeah, in this episode, I would say we do obviously continue where we left off with with Frank, Winston's brother, dying, and the repercussions of that. And obviously, Winston wants to get back at the Continental by going after Cormac, but nobody kills on Continental ground. Obviously, Cormac did it in this episode, but basically, you're not supposed to do that. I mean, it's a suicide mission. We still don't know where the coin press is. Do you know? Was that mentioned in this episode? Because it seems like the MacGuffin.
I think they've hidden it somewhere.
Well, Frank has hidden it, and nobody knows where Frank's hidden it. He hasn't told anybody. So that'll be interesting to know what happens. I'll tell you what I didn't like about this episode is the character of Yen. I do like the character of Yen, but for somebody who didn't speak English, all of a sudden she starts to grasp English pretty well, pretty quickly. Don't you think?
Yeah, because considering that she was speaking, was it Taiwanese or was it Chinese? I can't remember.
I think maybe Vietnamese do, because she you saw that flashback of her being a suicide bomber in Vietnam, which failed, and then she saw Frank and they fell in love and put two and two together after that. But the point is that she didn't understand a word that they were saying in English, and then all of a sudden she's starting to speak English. It would have, honestly, this is bad writing for me. It would have just been so much easier that she could just speak a bit of English, like broken English or whatever. It would have been just so much easier if they went down that route, And maybe she doesn't know some of the more complicated words, but at least there's some more, the communication's a little bit more valid. But I think it's bad writing that making us somebody who doesn't understand English to then somebody who then can pick it up pretty easily and even say a few words herself. Don't you think?
Definitely. Considering like last episode, Frank was having to speak to her in Vietnamese, and then she just also starts thinking English. Yeah, I think it would be different. Maybe like if she started like drawing pictures and stuff like that. Like maybe like she's drawing pictures of what she meant. That would be much more understandable because again, well, she doesn't speak language. She could just still pick what she means. So like maybe if it's a port or something. And I do agree with you. I think it made much more sense to the story if she maybe grasped the odd word here and there. Sorry, but she doesn't understand the actual context.
And we have little flashbacks here and there, which I kind of thought were pointless, like Frank and Winston throwing fucking Molotov cocktails through windows, and it was bollocks back in 1955. And obviously Yen and Frank meeting in the Vietnam War in 1973. Pointless, all of it for me. It's just, but it kind of, I feel like these elements were added in just to pad out the show a little bit longer. What they needed to do was maybe put in another action scene here or there, just to pan things out. Or maybe another whack job. Like you had those twins, that male and female twin. Like they were hardly in this episode. They offered nothing. These interesting characters, these unique hitmen. I would like to see a little bit more of them, doing their thing. We have the character of the adjudicator, the lady with the mask. That was a cool scene when she took off her mask, and I'm so happy we didn't see the face. You know what I mean? Because it keeps it a mystery still.
Yeah, because we're all like, "Oh, what does she look like?" And that's the thing. I want it to remain a mystery because I think it's like because that will start people speculating, and that's good. If you don't, what's the word? If you don't indulge in speculation, it's great.
Yeah, exactly. Some of the other subplots weren't really working for me, like the character of Lou, played by Jessica Allen. She's the lady who owns the dojo in Chinatown. She's getting frisked, so to speak, or pushed, not pushed. Just treated in a heavy-handed way by the new mafia, the new sort of triad guy on the scene, who got his henchmen to go after her, and she beat the shit out of them. She's trying to come to some sort of arrangement now with this new boss of Chinatown. I don't know what that's going to pan out, but once again, it just felt fucking useless. Now this guy ends up maybe helping them. Who knows? But he does seem like your stereotypical untrustworthy villain, or gang member or whatever, and he looks like he could sell them out in a heartbeat. Now, I'm not sure if you ever watched in Sons of Anarchy and Mayans. There was an actor in that show that is actually on this show. I'm going to see if I can find him. Let me see.
I watched a couple of
Where is?
episodes of it. I'm not really. Yeah.
No, he's in the latter in Mayans. He's in the earlier series, but he doesn't come into a little bit later. I can't really see him. Oh, come on, give me more of the cast. There's more cast than this. He's basically in this episode. He was the sniper who likes to pour wine into plant pots. I thought he would play a French character, but no, he's as red as Austin's as Steve Austin's neck, and yeah, he's obviously a guy from like the Mid-South, and he is a sniper, and he's a gun for hire, and he's going to be part of that team of people who are going to break into the Continental. So he'll have his worth as well. But he seemed like an interesting character, don't you think? I think he's going to die, by the way, but he seemed like an interesting character.
Yeah. As I said, most of these characters, apart from Winston, are interesting characters because there's something unique about them.
Apart from Winston, you say?
Yeah. For me personally.
Why apart from Winston?
I don't know, he just doesn't feel like he's. I'm not really getting much of his character apart from just that he's upset that his brother's died. Apart from that, I'm not really getting any sort of three-dimensional growth. Like, fair
enough.
I mean, considering in 2 episodes we've had a lot of growth from this the KD lady, and maybe from the two people who run the dojo, and everything else is just like they're more interesting. It's nothing to do with the actor. It's to do with the writing, I think.
Yeah, I agree. By the way, the actor who plays the sort of the redneck fucking sniper, his name is Ray McKinnon. He plays the character of Jenkins. So, but we've got all these things intertwining. The characters of KD and Mayhew, the cop and the journalist. I don't know how that's going to pan out and how they're going to end up crossing wires, so to speak. It's all very unusual. All these characters, all these plot threads, eventually intertwining.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see how that pans out in the next episode. And we only have 1 episode left.
Indeed,
it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. This is the sort of thing that I think a lot more shows should do, is making these longer, more compact episodes, because they forces them to have a rocket up their ass. Like for example, we've been watching Ahsoka. There's many episodes that could have done with something like this, where shorter, and they could have just there's some episodes I'm glad they didn't. That it was a bit longer. Like for example, the World Between Worlds episode was fantastic. But I'm just saying, shows like that could do with this. In the next hour show, if it was something like the Continental, I'd be all before it, because something where they have a rocket up their ass and it forces them to concentrate on story and character like this episode. Because I thought this second episode was fantastic. I'm sorry, I loved the bit when they're in the cinema and she's having to use the the different tricks to kill them all. I love that. I love the thing around I love the fact that he's in a church. And he goes, "Come on, help me out. And then he goes, "I'll try and do my best." Sir. He says, "I wasn't talking to you." I just love that. I love that part of it.
I didn't know he was so. I didn't know Cormac was so religious. But then again, it's crazy. It's crazy that he himself, who if he is so religious, "Thou shalt not kill." I mean, that was one amendment he threw away immediately afterwards. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who does kill him. It'll be interesting to see if Winston ends up becoming gets in charge of the Continental through his ordeal. It'll be interesting to see where the fuck these coin presses are. What the hell? I need to know. That's one of the biggest deals of this. All these different characters, and they got 1.5 hours to do it in, which is basically three episodes long. I will say this: I do agree with you that they should do more shows like this. But when you have 1.5 hours worth of story told to you in one episode, you feel like you feel like to yourself, yeah, I've had my fill, and I can wait a bit until the next episode, if you know what I mean. It's like you feel like you binged like 2 or 3 episodes in one sitting. Okay, I'm good to go now. I can wait a week, even though I don't want to.
No,
But yeah, sure.
but I do think that we're getting a lot of character development, a lot of story in this, and it doesn't. People don't have to outright say what they're doing, and that's one thing I've loved about this series. Like, for example, when KD goes to the police chief's house, and basically she sees his wife there, she says, "Oh, I'm thinking about," and she's basically using their affair against him to get information out of him. It's like she knows what she's doing. I mean, because she obviously cares about the guy.
Yep.
And it's just so great. As I said, it's just
When they stole that van, what were they stealing earlier?
I can't remember.
Remember the van? They
Yeah,
broke into that place.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah, but I can't remember what exactly it is that they're trying to procure.
Miles and yen. They stole it. It was funny though. I did like that scene between um uh Lou and the I think it's called the Orphan Master, the name of that Chinese triad guy, and he was basically saying, "Look, you're in fucking Chinatown. Dojo is Japanese," and I love that because like he even showed my naivety. Yeah, what the fuck, if you're gonna open unless it is a Japanese place, and in a way, you kind of being a little bit culturally inappropriate by opening it there. But at the same time, why the fuck not? Can I not open it there? Just because it's Chinatown doesn't mean I can't open a Japanese place in there. But it's just so funny. It's so funny. The Pandora's box, that's for sure. But yeah, I did like that. And offering a chicken feet, for fuck's sake, oh nasty. So yeah.
That's very common in like that sort of what's the word, cuisine, like Far Eastern cuisine anyway.
Yeah, they eat all types of shit. But with the turning of Sharon as well, I mean, it's funny in a way. I think Sharon was going to stay loyal. He was going to stay loyal to Cormac after all that happened to him. He was going to stay loyal, and then he sees, this guy. I think Sharon might bat for the other side. I think he might be gay. I think they were like definitely trying to kind of express that sentiment without them acknowledging it. But
what's that? Sorry,
which is why the cellist wanted him to come with him to Ireland and leave the Continental and all of that. But Sharon expressed his loyalty to Cormac, but once he realized that what Cormac done, and he fucking murdered and killed a potential love interest, and the fact that Cormac is almost like possessive over Sharon, he almost feels like he owns him, which is kind of fucked for a white guy to be owning a black man. Whatever whatever age it may be. Yeah. Sharon's gonna realize, shit, I'm a bit over my head here.
Yeah, because when Cormac kisses his two cheeks and it goes, "You are the person that that's most important to me." I was like, "Holy fuck!" Like it is quite chilling when he was like talking to him. It's like, oh my god, because I said, that was probably one of the most powerful scenes in this, where he's like telling Sharon what he thinks about him. So
yeah, well, I mean, we saw in the John Wick movies how close Winston and Sharon were. So I think that we're going to see the beginning of that bond and the end of the bond between Cormac and Sharon. So But for me, it's still how Winston becomes Continental leader. If they show that in this season, they might leave that for another season. But I'll be shocked at the way that they're not making they're not making the lead of the Continental by the end of this episode, by the end of episode 3. Regardless, if they do leave it for another season, that won't bother me either. But they better hope that this season pays off and they're willing to do another season, because eventually people want to see that. They want to see how this guy who's running away from the Continental and all the institutes within it, which have tried to kill him, and come out, and how he ends up taking over the fucking joint. Oh, another thing, boss man, the beggars. The beggars, they were so awesome in this. And I really like that lady who spoke to John. Sorry, I keep saying John Wick. Who spoke to Winston regarding them, because I think we've got a really good insight to the beggars and their sort of assassination and stuff like that. Because she basically said the lady who's in charge of them, saying that when you find these people, these homeless people who've got nothing to live for, and you give them an opportunity in life, they will give you their lives, in return, And I can see that. I can see that. You give people who've got nothing left to live for an opportunity in life, to not necessarily, but to use this like negativity within their lives to be like a beggar and stuff, but for more proactive things. They love her for it. These guys are fucking trained killers, and you see them sparring underground and making bullets and shit like that. Absolutely fascinating, don't you think?
Well, I think if you're an assassin, it's better probably more advantageous to you to be a beggar, because then therefore you're off the grid, because you don't have any sort of like tax, you don't have any sort of like trail that they can trace. So like if you're homeless and you're not known to anybody, your face might be, but you won't be. So I think that something like that makes sense if you're part of that world, because how many of us see people who are homeless all the time, and homeless just ignore them. So it's sort of like an anonymity, and plus you're totally off the grid. So because you don't have a phone, you don't have a digital imprint, you don't have a Twitter, you don't have a Facebook, you don't have anything. So therefore, you probably have a level of anonymity you can't get, like if you're someone like a John Wick, who's like settled down and got married and stuff.
Definitely back then, when it was much easier to hide in plain sight, not like it is now, where you stick out in plain sight as long as somebody's got a picture of you, and it would have been really good back then, and everything. And I think there's this young black guy who was, I think, initially at the entrance and then stood by that lady the whole time. I think that's Lawrence Fishburne's character.
Okay.
From the movie. What do you think?
Yeah, could be.
Yeah, hasn't been confirmed. I was hoping it would be confirmed, but in a way, sometimes not everything needs to be confirmed there and then. They can leave it for a little while, maybe as an end of season sort of, way of just explaining things, just to bring certain plot points to an end. So yeah, we'll see how that pans out as well. There's so many things that need to be panned out in the final episode, and a lot of people sometimes don't feel that they can do that. I think they can do that, but at the same time, I do feel that a lot of people banked on this episode to do this series to do well. I don't think it's done as well as it could. I mean, maybe hopefully it will do as well as it could do, but if they do leave things open for a second season, I definitely hope that definitely happens, because I'm thoroughly enjoying this ride. Even though I didn't think this episode was the best one yet out of the 2 episodes we've seen, I think this episode could have done with a sprinkle more action. But there you go. Anything to add, boss man?
No, as I said, I'm just hoping that this succeeds, because if other series does what this does, which is do a shortened but longer episodes, but more tighter, more concise series, then that's a good thing, because I think this should be the sort of thing that a lot more series do going forward. So that's what I would say. I don't know if you agree with me or not.
I agree. I do. Final episode, mate. I can't wait. I hope it's a humdinger, and I definitely hope. I hope a lot of, if not everything is resolved. what most importantly does get resolved. And one of the things I want resolved, even more than Winston being the owner of the Continental, is I want that those fucking coin presses to be found. You know, I really do. You can't leave that in the fucking lurch. Find those fucking things. Figure out where the hell they are, and at the same time, something to do with the high table. I want a bit more from them as well. I think if it's not Winston and his gang of fucking misfits who take over from Cormac, maybe it's the high table who kill Cormac instead. One or the other. You know, so yeah, we'll see that. And maybe we will see the adjudicator's face, but I'm not too bothered if we don't ever see her face.
I hope we
You know what I
don't,
mean?
because I want that to be a mystery, that she takes it off, but we never see it.
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, I do feel that Winston's going to see it, and then that makes us see it. But I'd rather not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like there's no need to see her face unless they have a scuffle and then we see her thrown on the floor and the mask comes off or some shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. All right. Time to market. What we're going to give the Continental Episode 2, Loyalty to the Master.
I'll give it a very solid 9, because I gave the last one 10. There was a little bit of, like, as I said, there's some points where they needed to up the amount of action and stuff like that. But the action we got, the interest I have in the series is top draw. You know, I think a little bit of a slight off after the last episode, which was phenomenally good. This was pretty damn good itself, so I give it a 9.
I'm going to give it a 7. I did like this episode, don't get me wrong. But I did also feel like this episode, being the penultimate episode, was set up for what we're going to be getting. They mentioned they're going to put a crew together and stuff like that. Well, if they are putting a crew together, they're not going to fucking be breaking into the Continental this episode. They're going to do it the next episode. And lo and behold, that was the case. It almost would have been better if they'd done it this episode, and God knows what episode 3 would have brought us. You know, but no, so breaking back into the Continental, taking everyone out on grounds where you can't kill people. Even though recently we've been seeing people getting killed in the Continental left, right, and center recently, that law seems to be, you know, for nothing. But anyway, who gives a fuck? All right, so yeah, 7 out of 10 for me, 9 out of 10 for you. Still, in my opinion, decent to top marks. Nothing below average, that's for sure. It's a great show, it really is. And if you like John Wick, then this is the show you need to be watching. You know, if you like your noir and your period noirs and stuff like that, this is the show that definitely to be watching. And I can't wait to see all the intertwinements next week. And I hope it does it well. Because some things, you know what the problem is, boss man? Sometimes you wait for certain things to happen and they don't happen. You know what I mean? Some things need to happen, but not everything might happen. So we'll see what happens next week. Anything more to add, mate?
That's it for me.
Me too. So don't forget to like, share, subscribe to NerdTube, the greatest YouTube channel you never heard of. Take care. Bye-bye.